I am honored today to be speaking with three-time Mr. Olympia, Frank Zane. Frank has won all of bodybuilding's major titles, including Mr. Olympia 3 times, Mr. Universe 3 times, Mr. World, and Mr. America. So you are one of the all-time greats in bodybuilding, and it's such an important thing to talk about nowadays, because obviously health and fitness has never been more important in a world where we see so many people struggling with health and fitness, and you made it a career. Tell me, in your lifetime of what you've been working towards, what was the best moment of your competition years? What do you remember as the most exciting moment when you were in the mix with all the competitions?
It was probably winning Mr. Olympia for the third time in 1979. I was in the best shape of my life, and it was a great experience, great moment.
What did you do differently that year? Anything particularly unique or different?
No, not really. I just continued doing what worked for me in the past, training on what's called a three-way split routine, 3 different workouts, usually done 3 days in a row and resting the fourth day. I just went by what has always worked for me, and I retained that and kept doing it.
Yeah, isn't it funny how so many people in life, when something's working, they actually have a tendency to blow it up and try something different just because that's the human tendency, instead of actually working on the simplistic mindset that what's worked is working and we want to build off of it, right?
Well, that's the way I always thought about it, was if it works, don't change it. Keep doing what works.
What attracted you to bodybuilding in general? What got you into this this level of competition?
I was about 14 years old when I really got interested in weight training, and I'd always been interested in things that were physical. I was in the Boy Scouts and got to be Eagle Scout, and like going camping and hiking and doing things that took effort. And I was good in school, got straight A's, and I just like challenges and working toward completing them.
And so you started working out, and did it become something that you just invested all your time into? Did it become almost like an obsession, or a positive obsession, if you will?
Well, it wasn't all my time. I did other things too. I mean, I did it on a regular basis.
Right.
I trained at least 3 times a week. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I trained in my basement at the time. And then when the health studio came to town, I trained there. And so, it's been ongoing. I took advantages of what the opportunities were.
Now, you also have the designation of having beat the famous Arnold Schwarzenegger as well, which is a pretty big honor, and obviously somebody who's well known in the industry of bodybuilding as well. Did you have a lot of interactions with Arnold over the years, or was it kind of like a friendly competition during that time? How did that feel to you?
Well, we didn't know each other at the time. It was 1968, and I had just won Mr. America the week before, and I was in great shape, whereas he wasn't in his best shape. And he was going to California after that. He had Weeder sponsorship. And I was teaching school in Florida, and I was just doing everything on my own. And eventually I made it out to California and started, I got a job teaching there for 8 years. I taught math in the Los Angeles City school system. And then eventually got to the point where I, did it full time, did bodybuilding full time. And that was when I won the Olympia 3 times.
That's amazing. And now you had a special recipe for success. If I understand it, you were known to have, the aesthetics down to a science. What was the secret ingredient? What were you doing differently than other people?
I took a lot of photos to see what I looked like. And I wanted to find out what other people saw when they saw my physique, and the way you do that is with photographs. So I realized that early on, and fortunately my wife was a really good photographer, and we took a lot of photos together. And, that's how people get to see you, is through your photographs, not so much live appearances, but the photographs is what make it into publication. So I focused on that and kept doing it over the years.
That's great. And so did you spend, how did you create the disparity between your strength areas and maybe some of your weaker areas? How did you work that into your workouts?
Well, I observed what I felt wasn't responding to what I was doing as much, and then I just work it harder. I would specialize, work certain body parts a few days in a row. And so I basically wanted to pay enough attention to all the areas so I could have a balanced physique, that there were no weak areas.
Yeah, that's amazing. Tell me about a traditional diet during that time. Like, what were you eating in a day during your Mr. Olympia days?
I always got enough protein, at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So for me, it was usually 200 grams of protein or more, a little more every day, half that amount of carbs, usually 100 grams of carbohydrates from natural sources, or less than that even, and a moderate fat diet, not high in fats, but not rock bottom either. And that's what I did almost all the time.
Did you have a cheat meal that you always went to? Did you have something when you were training that you would go and kind of go off the norm for your body, or did you allow for yourself to have that all the time?
No, not so much. I really didn't think of anything as a cheat meal. It was all part of the program.
It was the discipline that it took to really get you there then,
Yeah,
huh? You
yeah.
you once you set the goal and you had that discipline, that you didn't get to be the best by cheating in any capacity. It was really about staying focused and driven towards your goal.
It was always about the goal. Basically, I would always allow at least 12, 13 weeks to reach a goal. And so I would start out and get very strict with everything about 12 weeks before the date I wanted to peak, and, follow up with photos and train accordingly. And it worked out. It was a pretty scientific approach.
Yeah. Process driven.
Yes.
Frank, how did you deal with injuries? I know, as I'm 44 years old, and I grew up playing soccer, and as an adult I played a couple times a week, and I've stayed in good shape through both working out. I've had a personal trainer for a number of years, and today I pretty much do everything on my own. But throughout those years, occasionally, all of us have this problem, but I'm sure it's even more challenging when you're competitive. When you have an injury, something that kind of sets your training back a little bit, is there anything that you would do, or do you have any stories that you could share of that capacity? Because I know that's a challenge a lot of people, a lot of our listeners that are high performers face, is that they have that minor setback or that injury that might keep them from reaching and obtaining those goals.
Well, don't do stupid stuff. Don't do things that you haven't done before and try to set records. Keep your eye on the goal, what it is. If you do get some kind of injury, take a 3-day layoff. Don't train it for a while, or train around it. Train light, stretch a lot, keep it warm while you're training. Do therapy. Warm while you're training, ice afterwards. Just use common sense.
Yeah, it really does help. I have an infrared sauna and a cold plunge, and I use it almost every day. And it's
Good.
crazy. It's absolutely mind-boggling how good my body feels. No matter how hard the workout is, each day I'm a little bit more prepared and stronger because of the ability to recover. I think today there's so much more of a focus on recovery, and maybe people like you were highly focused on it, but so many others, it wasn't like this was something people were talking about as much many years ago in the mainstream.
I didn't go by what other people said or did so much. I went by what I discovered to work best for me. And I did take advice from people who were learned, who had done it before, but I always, applied it to my own situation.
Did you have a mentor in the bodybuilding world, or somebody that you looked up to, that you were guided by?
Not one mentor. I had a lot of people who I got advice from, former champions like Reg Park, Bill Pearl, even Arnold, Sergio Oliva. I knew them all, and I saw what they did, and I'd apply it to me to whatever extent I could, and see how it worked.
It's pretty impactful. The older I get, the more I understand that really my body is my body. Your body is your body. It's very important to train, to contour the food, the diet, every aspect of taking care of the body to yourself and what works best for you. And really getting to know that is empowering, isn't it?
You have to listen to your body. What's it trying to say to you? Don't overtrain. You have to learn to interpret its signals. So it's what it's saying. If you get injured, it doesn't mean you have to, train heavy. You have to take care of that and do therapy, train around it, do the best you can to stay healthy. And then don't be in a hurry. Take your time and do a good job.
Your patience really pays off there,
It
doesn't it?
does. It does. You have to have it.
Do you have, if you're advising somebody, a friend, a family member under 40, what is and versus over 40, how do you break up advice from a physical fitness, from a nutritional standpoint? What are some of the things that you recommend, maybe pre 40 and post 40?
I never broke it up like that or thought about it that way. I would tell everybody pretty much the same thing. Stay on a good diet. Don't eat junk food. Train regularly. Have a good mindset. Don't speak negatively. Think positive thoughts. Meditate, clear your mind. Don't worry. All those things.
So
Read positive things, literature.
yeah. So with positivity and visualization, was that a big part of what you did? Was that
It
something that,
always was, yes.
yeah, it's pretty powerful. You hear that a lot, is visualization can be such a big, you have to clear the mind, but seeing yourself as a winner, seeing yourself as somebody that has won Mr. Olympia 3 times and these huge contests, you have to see yourself doing it before anyone else can see you doing it, right?
You have to dispel doubts and do everything to maintain a positive mindset. Like, don't hang around people that aren't positive. Don't hang around people who doubt you all the time, or talk negative things to you, try to discourage you. You have to basically still steer clear of that and do things that are positive.
How did you change your routine as you've aged? What are some of the things that you've done to stay healthy over the years? But obviously, as we age, there's different maybe bogeys that we hit on the numbers, that the body changes a little bit, and I understand that those are important things for listeners to pay attention to.
Well, my program was, in general, do 3 sets of each exercise, and the rep range was maybe 12 reps on the first, increase the weight slightly, 10 reps on the second, increase the weight, and then 8 reps on the third, and then stretch between sets. And that's the way I always did it.
And did you focus on stretching the individual muscle you're working? So if you're working chest, you're opening up your chest, you're making sure you're allowing that tightening not to take hold, but to open it up and really get that stretch and that flexibility in the
Yes, I would
muscle.
stretch the body part I was working.
Okay.
That's basically what I would do.
That's great. Yeah. So that's the, and now how much of these things are you still doing today?
I still do them all.
What's
You
your,
know,
what's,
I maybe train 3 days a week. I don't really have anything. I'm 80 years old, so I don't have anything to train for really. I just want to stay fit, stay in shape, not stay out of shape, because you get out of shape, it's a tough road back the older you get. So I always do something. And I have a gym in my home on my lower story, 600 square foot gym with everything in it. And I do all my training there.
that is your, do you train other family members? Does other people come over to your gym and work out with you, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I have a training partner comes over, and also people come to see me for what I call Zane experience. It's either 1, 2, or 3 days in a row, and I show them how to develop good form in the exercise.
when you were going through and really building this muscles and building your career, was there a was a muscle group that you really loved working and then one that you didn't love working as much?
No, I sort of had an equal approach to working all of them. And the
But you
main
didn't.
thing is I wanted to have the ability to get a good pump in whatever area I worked, and I was able to do that.
Okay. I kind of was thinking just personally, I always I enjoy chest, I enjoy back, I always enjoy biceps and um the legs. I've always worked them. I've never being a soccer player, you can't not work your legs, but at the same time, I never enjoyed it as much. But the more you do it, the more you find yourself actually loving doing it.
The other thing is I paid attention to things that a lot of people wouldn't, like, for example, what does your silhouette look like? What does the outline of your body look like? What do areas like your lats, your width, small waist, developed deltoids, wide shoulders, you know, calves that are prominent, hamstrings and quads developed, body looking good from every angle, waist that doesn't stick out from the side, all of those things. And I've become aware of that through photographs.
Yeah, that's it's so impactful. I mean, the silhouette is something that's so unique and different. You're really looking at all the finest details of the body and from every angle, and not only what you saw, but how other people were seeing it, which is how you became uh, special in that aesthetic area. I mean, that's obviously something that's super interesting. Are,
You're really not looking at any details, you're only looking at the outline because the details are in shadow. You can't see them. But that's one thing you need to look at that some people don't, is what does your silhouette look like? What does your outline look like?
that's great. What were your so when you stopped training and you stopped competing professionally, what was the next chapter like for you? What did you go into mostly? Was it mostly training and building other people to do the same
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, I had a program, I still do it, called the Zane experience, where people come from all over and I spend either, 3 hour session, 1, 2, or 3 days in a row, and I show them what they need to develop, whatever their goals are. If they're competing, we work on posing, how to present what they have best, just how to make the most of their workouts and their ability to show their physique.
And you've been doing this as long as you can remember. You've been helping people with this 3-day experience.
Since 1980.
That's phenomenal. Anything changed? I mean, it's not anything changed. It's a ridiculous question, but what's changed specifically in the training? Have you changed different equipment? Are you still mainly using the free weights? What specifically has changed dramatically over the years for you? Anything?
Nothing dramatic. I probably use more machines. I do more isolation work. I don't do anything really heavy. I don't do any kind of heavy squats or deadlifts, nothing heavy overhead. And
So
my
mainly,
goal is to get a good pump in the area.
yeah. So lighter workout, but the ability to still get the pump.
Yeah, lighter weights, but basically making lighter weights feel heavier. I
And-
do slower negatives, and I increase the weight every set and decrease the reps.
Okay. When how did you have any major hobbies over the years outside of your bodybuilding? What else do you get into on a day in day basis?
Archery is one thing I still do. I've been involved in that for quite a long time, and I have some targets set up by my house that I shoot at, and I shoot compound bow and a recurve bow as well. And that's one thing. I think focus is important. It helps me with focus, the ability to pay your attention to one small area and send arrows there. That's an ability that's good to have.
It's also, it seems pretty much in line with how you worked out as well. where you were
Yes,
putting that focus, that heavy focus into each individual area and really developing that muscle group to be the best version of itself it could possibly be.
yeah. There are a lot of similarities between the two, sure.
The precision. And you've been married how many years?
55.
55. So what's that? Not only are you taking care of your body and its peak performance, but you've also been married for a number of years. Do you have any advice for our listeners on a long, successful marriage?
Well, find the right person for you and then stick with it.
Yeah. It's really it's work though, just like anything else. You can't have the body you want without putting in the work. You can't have the marriage you want without
Absolutely,
putting in
of
the work.
course, of course.
Yeah,
Well, everything is like that.
it really is. It's an interesting dynamic, that one that's probably taken for granted a little bit too much, because the work is what gets you. Doing it is what gets you the result, not talking about it or knowing it, right?
Those who succeed, yes.
What advice do you have for young people today when it comes to physical fitness, when it comes to taking care of their bodies? Anything that you share, that you find yourself sharing more than other advice?
Well, train on a regular basis, have a training program and a way to train, either, if it's a good home gym or a health studio you go to. But the other thing is have some kind of backup thing you can do, like a profession, something you can earn a living at. Because how many people can earn a living doing this, doing professional bodybuilding? Not many. You have to have something else that you're good at, that you can do, that people would pay you to do for them. So those two things, be good
Yeah.
at your training and have another career.
Was when it comes to your career, you were a teacher in Los Angeles for a while. What were you teaching, and what was that experience like for you?
I was a mathematics teacher for 13 years altogether, and I was in Los Angeles City Schools for 8 years. And then I retired from that in 1977. And of course, I competed the whole time,
Right.
but I retired and, wanted to do it full time. And then I retired in 77, won my first Olympia in 77, and just kept doing bodybuilding after that. In the
That's
meantime, I also earned a master's degree in psychology, so I kept my education going.
So you were working on the finer points again, working on the mind while you also worked on the body.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. And so you enjoyed the teaching experience while you were there.
Yeah, I thought teaching was important, to be able to, you know, relay things to people that they can understand it better. And that's pretty much what I do with bodybuilding.
Is you're just educating people on the movements. You're educating them on safety. You're educating
That's
them
right.
on
All that.
training. What does the experience look like if someone comes in and does the Zane experience? Can you walk me through how do they find first of all, where do they find it? They go online and under they
You go
go
to
to
my
your
website,
okay.
frankzane.com. The information is there, but there are other indicators like Instagram, Facebook that steer you in that direction. There are people that have done it that make reference to me, and just basically whatever your goals are, I can help you because I've pretty much done it all myself.
And so they would sign up and they come out, and then they where are you located at?
About 10 miles east of San Diego in a town called La Mesa.
Okay. I went to San Diego for the first time about a year ago, and I'd been to other parts of California, but that's a hidden gem. And I think everybody knows about it, but wow, it is gorgeous. The weather is beautiful. The experience is quite interesting. It's a beautiful place to live, and a beautiful place, I would imagine, to train.
It's a nice climate, and it's peaceful.
So they come out, they spend 3 days. You said approximately 3 hours with you, right? So it's 3 hours a day for over 3 days.
Yeah, it's either 1, 2, or 3 days, depending on what they have in mind.
And what's the
And it's
accountability after the
consecutive.
fact? And what would be the accountability after the fact? So they come out and they spend those 3 days. is there some level of coaching that goes with it after the fact? Like, would you keep up with them, or will they show you their progress or anything along those lines?
It's all up to them. I like to help them develop responsibility for their own bodies. You know, don't rely on the trainer unless you want to do that, and maybe you are a trainer. But develop the responsibility to make your own gains. I mean, that's what I always did. I never really relied on anybody. You know, I did for certain periods of time, but I didn't keep doing that.
That's great. That's great. And do you,
Be an example too.
yeah, do you give them any examples or any help on diet? What part does the diet play in the training that you're teaching?
The big part. No, there's training, stretching, posing, nutrition, taking supplements, eating the right proportion of protein, fat, and carbohydrates, aerobic activity, you know, how much of that should you do and what kind. So it's a big picture.
Um, do you do aerobic stuff today as well?
I ride a recumbent stationary bike at the end of my workout. It's not, and then I walk too, but it's not a big part of my workout because when I train relatively fast. I don't rest a long time between sets or go real heavy. You know, I want to get a good pump and move through the workout relatively quick, generally getting the workout done in about an hour or a little bit longer.
So you're also getting your cardio up while you're doing it because your heart rate's moving, you're
Yeah,
getting the full body experience.
right.
Yeah. It's always interesting to me how much the body can perform under that level of stress and with little rest, but also how much more the heart rate goes up by just not taking as much of a break in between. And it really starts to become a full body workout, and including the cardio side.
You know, the other thing is continuity in your training. Is not like you have to break records all the time or even go to failure. I think that's a negative concept is you have to go to failure on everything. That's not how you succeed by failing. You want to be successful in your workout, you know, not having to not be able to do something before you stop. I mean,
Right.
physiologically, that might be good for muscle growth, but it could also lead to injury. So I don't practice that. I don't recommend others do it either.
So which is a big important differentiator between you and a lot of other people, because you were a big proponent of really developing and learning that muscle and growing it, but not pushing it to the limit of breaking it where you were going to injure yourself.
Right, right.
And that elongated your ability to train, to grow, and to stay healthy.
It increases longevity. You know, going to failure it means it's all over. You failed. You're through.
Yeah. And there's so many people that are so physically fit, so strong, and they really spend a lot of time focusing on the gains and the strength and the highest amount of weight that they're lifting. But if the body can't continue to do that, then it was really all for naught, wasn't it? It's not really valuable if you can't continue to build it over time and live the life that you're living today.
Right. Continuity is the main thing.
Yeah, continuity is a great word for
Persist.
that. I interrupt you. I'm sorry. Say that again.
You should be able to persist and keep doing it.
Yeah, persistence. That's right. I completely agree. So for people, to find you, they go to frankzane.com, and
Yes.
they could do the Zane experience, and they can come out and they could train at the level of experience that they want, because it's all about personal responsibility. Without personal responsibility and choice, it's not really going to help them at all, is it?
That's right. You know, you have to have a goal and be willing to put the time and the effort into it. And I can help them along the way. You know, it's all up to them.
Yeah, that is crucial in anything that they're doing. Is so are you training anybody or working with anybody today that's competing at a major level, like the old you know, in the old Mr. Olympia days and the Mr. World, Mr. America?
Well, not quite Mr. Olympia level, but I've for example, Michael Hearn, he's come to see me quite a few times. I've worked with him. Uh, Jesse Fernandez, who's like, oh, in his early 60s, he's won Mr. America over 50. And I've known him for about 8 years now, and he comes over several times a week, and we work out together, and I help him with whatever he needs to do in his workouts.
So the key question here is, you've been married over 50 years. Does your wife also take your advice when it comes to working out, or does she do her own thing?
She does a lot of aerobic activity. She does some weight training, but she has her own little treadmill that she walks on every day for at least an hour. I mean, so she's aerobically fit.
And that's
She does
another,
some lightweight training too.
it's probably another important part though, too, is that having a long marriage and that longevity in your marriage also helps that you're both focused on health and physical fitness and staying in shape.
Yeah, she won some titles. She won Miss Americana, a bunch of titles like in the 70s.
Wow.
Uh, uh, in London, Miss Universe Bikini, the contest was called. She won that in 1970. As a matter of fact, in 1970, I won Amateur Mr. Universe, Arnold won Professional Universe, and Christine won Miss Universe Bikini. They call it that because they don't have it's just a swimsuit competition.
Right. Wow. So it was a true power couple.
You might say that, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. And so today I want to make sure everybody hears it and they can catch up with you. So Frank Zane is still teaching the things that he taught for many years to success, and a successful marriage, a successful career, and a very, very successful bodybuilding experience even today for anybody that wants to learn from you. What message do you have for anyone that's interested in coming out and training with you?
Contact me. You can email me. It's a Zane0001 at AOL.com, my email. If you're interested in doing something like that, email me and we could set up a time that's mutually convenient.
That's great. Well, Frank, I appreciate your time. It's always great to have a conversation like this and to learn from someone who's done what you've done at the highest level. And I couldn't be more grateful for the time and the experience, and also the ability for you to share these stories with us. Is there anything you'd like to say to any of the listeners before you wrap up today?
Just basically stick with what you're doing. This is something that you should always do, whether it's something you want to compete or whatever it is, but you should always work out, a couple times a week at least. Weight training is probably the most efficient way, combination of weight training, stretching, and aerobic activity, and just stay in shape. Don't let yourself get out of shape, because if you do, it's harder to get back in shape. So try to stay in good shape and do your best.
Yeah, Frank, we talk about the high performance life, and I use life as an acronym. L is love. It's who are the most important people in your life. Who are you working for? Who are you spending your time with? Who are you growing from? I is impact. It's what you do every day. It's your career, your impact, what you're doing to the world and with the world. Your F is your faith, something bigger than yourself. If you're the only thing, it can be very empty. So something bigger than yourself. And the last one is energy. And energy fits into exactly what you just said. That's a healthy mind, a healthy body, a healthy spirit. And at the end of the day, how you show up is really important. If you get into the habit of not doing something, if you lose that drive, it's very hard to get back on the train. But if you keep it going, even if it's only a couple times a week, it's enough to just keep it moving in the right direction. And the how you show up becomes really important to life.
I have one of those myself too. It's a G equals EARN. G is goal. Equals is, goal is accomplished by E, exercise, your combination of weight training, stretching, aerobics, and posing. A is your attitude. what you think about, what you say, and what you do. R is relaxation, recuperation, getting enough sleep, rest, learning how to induce the relaxation response during the day to be able to relax, like through meditation, for example, guided relaxations. And N is nutrition, eating the right combination of protein, fat, and carbohydrates, and then taking, the right use of supplements, amino acids, supplements like, liver extract, vitamins and minerals, digestive enzymes. I've always taken supplements. And, I think it's a good thing to do that. So that's my formula.
That's great. That's a great formula, and a formula that's worked to get to the highest level at your profession. And I can't thank you enough, Frank, for being a part of the show today. And our listeners really get a lot from learning from the greats. And a high performance life is one where you put the time in, the dedication in, the persistence, the continuity, showing up, and everything that you mentioned. And we'll make sure that we have that recipe that you laid out in the notes as well, so people can get a view on that. But thank you so much for being a part of the show today. And frankzane.com, we'll make sure we get everybody the ability to listen to it and see it, and go seek him out so you can train with him.
Well, it's been my pleasure, Scott. Keep doing what you're doing, spreading the word, the word, and keeping people, doing what they need to do to get in shape and to, improve their lives and help other people too.
Well,
so all the best to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you. Have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you liked it, there's more where this one came from. Click here and enjoy some more.